Be me 25-year-old feminist suddenly loses my roommate rent. On this place is brutal, no way I can cover it. Solo? Only person applying is some polite programmer. Dude immediately convinced he's hiding something. Because obviously men are trash and eventually prove it. Decide fine, let him move in anyway. If he's secretly awful, I'll catch it eventually. So here's the situation. Anons, I work as a marketing coordinator in this stupidly expensive city. Been sharing this apartment with my friend Emily for what feels like forever. Things were smooth until one random Tuesday night. She drops the news like, "It's nothing," says she's moving in with her boyfriend across town. Apparently this has been planned for a while, gives me almost no warning to figure out rent. Thanks Emily, incredible timing. Immediately start panicking. This apartment already eats half my paycheck every month. There's no way I can float the whole thing myself. Open my laptop and start spamming roommate listings everywhere. Craigslist, Facebook housing groups, random roommate apps. Nobody admits using over the next few days. I get maybe 20 messages total. Most of them are disasters. One guy's very first message asks what bra size I wear. Another asks if I'm 420 friendly and down to hang. Block and delete instantly. Then this one reply shows up that feels suspiciously normal. Guy named Daniel says he works in software engineering, includes references from 2 old roommates, doesn't ask a single creepy question, just wants details about rent, utilities. And apartment rules honestly sounds like a LinkedIn profile. Wrote the message, my first thought is, obviously, that something is off. No man looking for a female roommate is this polite and normal. There has to be some hidden angle, call my best friend Lauren, to get her opinion. She's been my ride or die since freshman year of college. Tell her the situation, she immediately backs up. My suspicion says, the nice ones are always the worst. Later tells me about this guy she rented with, named Tyler, perfect roommate for 3 months. Then suddenly started borrowing money and never paying it back. Another dude she lived with ended up stealing her underwear from the laundry. Lauren is convinced this is the same type of situation brewing. But reality check hits me hard. I cannot afford this apartment alone. Moving would cost at least $2,000 between deposits and trucks. I definitely don't have that. Sitting in savings and finding another place in this housing market would be a nightmare. So I agree to meet Daniel for coffee near my building, fully expecting typical tech bro vibes and some weird undertone. Instead, this extremely average-looking guy walks in probably about my age, maybe a year older, plain jeans, button-down shirt, not flashy. Not trying to impress anyone, we sit down and start talking. He immediately asks practical stuff, wants to know about the neighborhood, how long the commute is to his office, asks where the nearest grocery store is, asks how the laundry situation works in the building, the whole time we're talking. He doesn't once stare at my chest, which honestly throws me off, because that's usually step 1, with dudes explains. He works remote most days, but goes into the office occasionally, says he's pretty quiet and not a party guy. Mentions he has a girlfriend who might visit, sometimes then actually asks if that would be okay. Instead of assuming my feminist alarm bells are ringing non-stop. This level of politeness feels staged, like he memorized respectful guy behavior from a handbook. Nobody is this thoughtful, unless they want something later. But I'm running out of options fast, so I tell him he can move in. At the start of next month, we shake hands on it. He says he'll send the deposit that evening. Sure enough, a few hours later, the money hits my account. Exact amount, we agreed on, no weird bargaining or excuses. Spend the next couple weeks bracing for the inevitable disappointment. Lauren keeps texting me articles about serial killers who seem normal. She's convinced I'm setting myself up for disaster. Starts joking about intervention plans when it goes bad. Moving day finally shows up. Daniel arrives exactly at the time. He said he would bring a handful of boxes and some basic furniture. Nothing weird. Nothing excessive, even helps carry some of my heavier stuff up the stairs. Without being asked, doesn't complain about anything. First, few days living together are strangely boring. He keeps his room clean and organized, never leaves dishes stacked in the sink. Bathroom stays spotless, makes coffee every morning, but never assumes I want. Just quietly handles his routine. That's when my paranoia really starts firing up. Decide to run some subtle tests, leave dirty dishes sitting in the sink overnight, knock over a small stack of mail near his door. By accident, play my music a little louder than usual. while he's on work calls waiting for the passive-aggressive meltdown. His reactions are absolutely not what I expected. Washes the dirty dishes without a word. No dramatic sighs, no passive-aggressive clanking, just cleans them and leaves them in the rack. Picks up the stack of mail. I knocked over, lines it up neatly on the counter. When my music gets loud during his meetings, he simply shuts his office door. No complaints. No comments. Lauren comes by. Maybe 10 days after he moves in, immediately goes into detective mode, starts hunting for proof. He's secretly awful. Checks his bathroom, like she's doing a crime scene inspection, looking for red flags, apparently. Then studies the stuff he keeps in the fridge, trying to psychoanalyze him. Through groceries, even scans the apartment for hidden cameras or creepy collections, comes up with absolutely nothing. His bathroom is somehow cleaner than mine. Fridge is full of normal food, and this expensive-looking coffee creamer. No weird electronics, no disturbing posters, no suspicious anything. She leaves annoyed, tells me, guys, this normal are always hiding something huge. Meanwhile, I start noticing little things about Daniel. Whenever he's heading to the store, he asks if I need anything, holds doors open without making a big deal about it, offers to grab heavy packages when deliveries show up, but backs off immediately. If I say I'm good, remembers I mentioned hating country music, so he keeps his speakers low when he listens to it. My brain starts glitching out, because for years, I've believed guys only act nice when they want something. But Daniel never asks for favors, never keeps score, just acts considerate, like it's his default setting. Around this time, he starts mentioning his girlfriend. Moore says her name is Rachel, talks about taking her to some photography exhibit she wanted to see, mentions cooking dinner for her. After she had a rough week at work, describes her opinions like they actually matter to him. My immediate theory is that he's performing. Either he tells her he's single when she's not around or she doesn't exist. And he made her up to look safer, decide I need to observe this relationship myself. Perfect chance shows up when he asks if Rachel can come over for dinner. Sometime, of course I say yes, purely for investigative purposes, spend the whole day mentally preparing to catch him slipping plan to watch their interaction like a documentary looking for manipulation, control. Any toxic behavior, Rachel shows up that evening and she's actually really nice. Not fake nice, just naturally warm and easy to talk to. Treats me like a normal person instead of competition. Watching them together. Short circuits my brain. They're affectionate, but not in an obnoxious way. Daniel asks her opinion about things and actually listens to the answer. She pokes fun at him about something dumb. He laughs instead of getting defensive. They split cooking without negotiating or keeping score, like it's just normal teamwork. This is not how I thought relationships worked. Everything I believed about men said they either ignore girlfriends or control them, but these two seem like they genuinely enjoy each other. No tension, no weird passive-aggressive comments, no subtle power games. Rachel tells stories while we eat about Daniel helping her move. Last year says he drove 3 hours when her car broke down on the highway. Talks about how nervous he was meeting her parents for the first time. She talks about him like he's her partner, not some burden she tolerates after she leaves. I sit in my room staring at the wall. Either Daniel is the most dedicated manipulator on earth, or maybe my entire worldview about men is a little off. Neither possibility feels great. About a week later, my old college friend Jake comes over, complete opposite of everything I've been seeing. With Daniel walks in, already complaining about his boss, then starts ranting about his ex, then about his current roommate, makes a bunch of jokes that aren't actually funny, still expects me to laugh at them, throws in a few comments about my looks that make me uncomfortable when Daniel gets home from work. Jake instantly gets weird and competitive, starts bragging about his salary and his car, makes little digs about programmers being awkward nerds, clearly trying to assert dominance or whatever Daniel's reaction is. Nothing like I expected. He's polite, says hello, makes some small talk, then excuses himself and goes to cook dinner. Doesn't bite on any of the bait. Jake keeps trying, though brings up politics, sports, work, culture, anything that might start an argument. Daniel either calmly agrees where it makes sense or smoothly changes. The topic refuses to get dragged into this weird macho contest. After Jake leaves, he immediately starts texting me, complaining about Daniel, says the guy must be gay because he didn't compete with him, calls him fake nice, insists he's definitely hiding. Something tells me I should be worried about living with someone. That's strange, the whole interaction sticks with me. Jake acts exactly like the kind of guy I always thought was normal, male behavior, loud, competitive, self-centered, always trying to prove something. Daniel acts like something I didn't think actually existed. Guy is calm, confident, doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Lauren still refuses to buy it, keeps saying the whole thing is some elaborate act, sends me screenshots from true crime, shows about charming psychopaths, constantly asking when I'm finally going to see the real him, completely unwilling to consider that maybe he's just a decent guy. But at this point, I'm starting to doubt my own assumptions. I've been living with Daniel for several months now. Not a single serious issue, no yelling matches, no manipulation, no weird demands or crossed boundaries. Just the same respectful behavior every day. Watching his relationship with Rachel keeps messing with my expectations too. They disagree sometimes, like any couple, but they handle it like grown adults, never hear shouting through the walls, no doors slamming. They actually talk things through, solve problems instead of turning them into drama. Then Rachel gets offered a job in another city. This is where I expect everything to implode based on my past experiences. This is the moment guys usually reveal the controlling side. Either they try to stop her from going, or they break up, because compromise is too much effort. Instead, they spend weeks calmly discussing their options. Daniel looks up flight prices between the cities. They talk about timelines for possibly moving in together. Later, make lists of pros and cons. Nobody gets manipulative or emotional about it. Eventually, they decide to try long distance for a while. Daniel seems honestly excited about her opportunity, helps her research neighborhoods and job markets in the new city, talks about visiting her and figuring out their future together. This completely wrecks my understanding of how relationships work. I always believed men sabotaged women's careers out of insecurity, or couples would just split up rather than deal with inconvenience. But here are two adults actually solving problems together. Rachel moves away for the new job. Daniel handles it with zero drama, no guilt trips, no meltdown, just misses her. And plans trips to see her, still the same, considerate roommate. He's always been around that time. I meet this guy, Brian, through work. Normally I would have dismissed him immediately. He's polite, asks thoughtful questions, actually seems interested in my opinions, all the stuff my brain normally flags as too good to be real. But living with Daniel has slowly been changing my perspective. Maybe some guys really are raised to be respectful. Maybe healthy behavior isn't always a trick. Maybe I've been sabotaging myself by assuming the worst. Brian asks me out one afternoon after work, instead of dodging it like usual. I say yes, first date. I'm basically waiting for the red flags. He listens when I talk, asks follow-up questions, doesn't interrupt me, or try to top every story. I tell walks me home after dinner without expecting anything, second date happens. A few days later, he remembers details from our first conversation. Mentions a novel. I said I wanted to picks a restaurant based on some food restrictions I mentioned again. No pressure, just seems happy. Spending time together. My friends react exactly how you'd expect. Lauren insists he's love-bombing me. To lower my guard, says the nice behavior will disappear. Once he's comfortable, predicts his real personality will show up in a few weeks. But Daniel's relationship with Rachel keeps contradicting that theory. They've been together more than a year now, and he's still the same considerate person. Visits her regularly, supports her career, treats her well. No sudden personality shift. No hidden toxicity revealed. Eventually, Rachel moves back to the city. A few months later, they get engaged. Daniel asks if she can stay at the apartment temporarily. While they search for a place, even offers to pay extra rent for the inconvenience, still respectful about shared space and chores. Watching them plan their wedding is honestly kind of amazing. They make decisions together. No fighting, no manipulation. Both families seem to genuinely like each other. Everything about it feels supportive instead of stressful. Meanwhile, my relationship with Brian keeps developing. He meets Daniel and Rachel one night, and everyone just clicks. No weird competition, no awkward tension, just four adults hanging out and enjoying the evening. Brian keeps being consistently thoughtful. He has flaws like anyone else, bad days at work sometimes. But he handles stress like a grown-up, doesn't dump his problems on me, doesn't expect me to fix everything. This slow shift in my worldview feels massive. I spent years believing all men were fundamentally selfish, built my whole identity around protecting myself from them. But the evidence in front of me keeps contradicting those beliefs. Lauren eventually meets Brian afterward. She reluctantly admits he seems fine. Still tells me I should keep my guard up, though says men always reveal their real personality. Eventually can't point to anything specific. He's done wrong, just insists the mask will slip someday. Jake, meanwhile, stays exactly the same as always, still complaining about everything in his life. Job sucks, roommate sucks, the world sucks. His latest girlfriend dumped him for no reason. He blames feminism for making women impossible to date. Watching the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. Jake represents what I always assumed all men were like: self-centered, bitter, constantly competing. Daniel and Brian represent something I didn't believe existed before: secure, mature, capable of real partnership. Eventually, Daniel and Rachel get married. The wedding is honestly beautiful. No drama, no weird family fights. Just two people who clearly love and respect each other. Both families actually get along. The whole celebration feels relaxed and genuine instead of performative. After the wedding, they find their own apartment. Daniel moves out of our place, thanks me for being a good roommate, even offers to help cover extra rent. While I search for someone new, leaves the apartment cleaner than when he arrived. Suddenly living alone again. Gives me a lot of time to think. Spent the last year watching healthy relationship dynamics up close. Seeing a guy behave with steady kindness every day, watching problems get solved with communication instead of fights. Brian and I keep getting closer. He eventually meets my parents. They end up liking him immediately. Not because he's charming or putting on a show, but because he's genuinely interested in them. My own relationship habits start changing. Without me forcing it, I stop constantly looking for hidden motives. Stop running little loyalty tests in my head. We can disagree about things without me assuming he'll turn abusive. I trust what he says because his actions always line up with his words. The shift affects the rest of my life too. I'm less defensive around people in general, less suspicious, better at spotting real red flags instead of imaginary ones. Lauren struggles with my new outlook. Our friendship starts getting tense. Sometimes she's still stuck in the same dating cycle, keeps seeing guys who treat her badly, then uses those experiences to confirm her belief that all men are terrible. I try to share what I've learned, but she isn't ready to hear it. Still insists Daniel must have been pretending. The whole time says his marriage will probably fall apart in a few years. Refuses to accept that some men might simply be decent. Meanwhile, Daniel and Rachel seem perfectly happy. We grab dinner together every now and then. Their relationship stays calm and supportive. No dramatic personality changes. No hidden toxicity appearing. Brian eventually meets my extended family, too, handles their skeptical questions with patience and humor, never gets defensive, just wins people over by being consistently respectful after more than a year of dating. Brian and I decide to move in together. The whole process feels natural instead of scary. I'm not constantly bracing for disappointment anymore, just excited to share a life with someone. I trust living together confirms everything I learned. Watching Daniel. Good men don't suddenly change once they have you. They stay considerate because that's who they actually are. Not some temporary performance. Looking back at the whole situation feels surreal. I started out convinced every man was toxic. Ended up in a healthy relationship with someone genuinely kind. The change didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, through repeated evidence. Eventually, Lauren and I have an honest talk about our friendship. She admits she's jealous of how happy I seem, but still thinks I'm naive or just lucky. Can't accept that her own outlook might be part of the problem. We agree to disagree and stay friends, but things between us are different now. Once you see healthy relationships up close, you can't unsee it. Jake keeps repeating the same cycle of failed relationships, always blaming women for being too picky. Never examining his own behavior, he represents the type of guy I once believed was inevitable. A year after their wedding, Daniel and Rachel invite us over for dinner. Small anniversary gathering, lots of laughing and easy conversation. No drama, no weird tension. Just people enjoying each other's company. Their marriage still looks solid and supportive. They encourage each other's goals, face challenges as a team, instead of turning them into fights. Proof that healthy relationships actually exist. Not long after that, Brian proposes. We've been together almost 2 years. By then, the moment feels natural. Not pressured, not manipulative, he isn't trying to trap me or control me, just wants to build a future together, as equals planning. Our wedding becomes a shared project. Both families blend together easily. No big conflicts or power struggles. The focus stays on celebrating our commitment. Sometimes I think about how different things could have been. If Daniel had never become my roommate, I might still be sabotaging relationships. Out of fear, probably would have pushed Brian away. With constant suspicion, could have missed out on something real. I'm still a feminist. I still care about women's rights and equality. But my perspective is a lot more nuanced now. I understand the difference between toxic behavior and healthy masculinity. I've learned to recognize real red flags instead of imaginary threats. My boundaries and communication got better, and I stopped assuming every kind gesture had a hidden agenda. Lived with that guy for a year. No drama, no mind games, just respect and stability. He married one of the kindest women I've ever met, and eventually I met someone like him. 2. Turns out, not every man is a monster. The real monster was my own prejudice.